The Galactic Council's mockery. The story opens in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, a massive crystalline structure orbiting the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Representatives from 47 different species gather in their designated areas, their forms ranging from the elegant, bird-like Avari to the hulking, rock-skinned granite lords. At the center of attention stands Ambassador Jake Rivers, humanity's lone representative. He appears unremarkable compared to the other delegates. No wings, no natural armor, no telepathic abilities. Just a middle-aged man in a simple blue uniform, carrying a standard datapad. The session begins with the Avari speaker, a tall creature, named Cress, addressing the assembly. We gather today to discuss the humans' request for inclusion in the Galactic Defense Initiative. Cress announces, his voice carrying a barely concealed note of amusement. Laughter ripples through the hall. The Zephyrian delegate, a being of pure energy named Flux, projects thoughts of mockery. The humans? The species that still uses chemical propulsion? They can barely leave their own solar system. Commander Stone of the Titanium Coalition, a cybernetic warrior race, stands with mechanical precision. Their weapons are primitive. Metal projectiles and explosive compounds. We have witnessed their conflicts through our monitoring stations. They fight with tools that would embarrass our ancestors. Jake listens quietly, his expression calm, but his jaw slightly tightened. The mockery continues as each species takes turns highlighting humanity's apparent weaknesses. The Aquari representative, a translucent being called Wave, mentions how humans require bulky life support systems just to survive in space. The Flame Lord's delegate, Ern, notes that humans lack any natural energy manipulation abilities. They claim to have military experience, laughs Vex, speaking for the Shadow Collective. But they fight among themselves like children. How can they possibly contribute to defending against the Void Swarm? The Void Swarm, a mysterious force that consumes entire star systems, has been the galaxy's greatest threat for centuries. The Galactic Defense Initiative represents the combined military might of all civilized species, and humanity's request to join has been met with skepticism. Cress spreads his metallic wings, calling for order. Perhaps we should give the human representative a chance to speak. Ambassador Rivers, please present your species' capabilities. Jake stands slowly, his movements deliberate. Thank you, Speaker Cress. I understand your concerns. From your perspective, humans appear primitive, weak, and technologically inferior. He pauses, scanning the assembly. You see our ships and think them slow. You observe our weapons and find them crude. You watch our conflicts and assume we are undisciplined. The hall falls silent, waiting for what they assume will be a desperate plea for acceptance. You are correct about one thing, Jake continues. We do fight among ourselves. We have waged war continuously for thousands of years. We have developed strategies, tactics, and weapons through constant conflict, while you have enjoyed peace. Through superior technology, we have learned to win through necessity. A few delegates exchange glances, but most still seem amused. However, Jake's voice grows stronger. What you see as our military capability is not our full strength. It is merely what we use against each other. We have learned to fight with restraint, to avoid destroying our own world. The weapons you mock are designed for warfare between humans, not for the annihilation of entire species. The laughter begins to die down as Jake's tone becomes more serious. You asked for a demonstration of our capabilities. I have been authorized to show you what humanity truly brings to the table. But I must warn you, once you see our true arsenal, your perception of us will change forever. The hall grows quiet, a mixture of curiosity and continued skepticism filling the air. Jake activates his datapad, and holographic displays appear throughout the chamber. These are not our military forces. These are our restraints. The displays show human weapons, ships, and soldiers in action. Everything you have observed about human warfare represents our attempts to fight without completely destroying ourselves or our world. He looks directly at each delegation. We have never shown the galaxy what we are truly capable of when we fight without holding back. We have never demonstrated what humans can do when we stop fighting each other and unite against a common enemy. The assembly watches in growing silence as Jake prepares to upload classified files to the Council systems. You want to see our true military capabilities? Jake asks, his finger hovering over the activation key. Very well. But remember you asked for this? The chamber fills with tension as Jake initiates the upload, and the first glimpses of humanity's hidden arsenal begin to appear on the screens around the hall. Asterisk, the holographic displays throughout. The council chamber flicker to life, showing images that make even the most battle-hardened delegates lean forward in their seats. What appears on the screens defies everything they thought they knew about human military capability. What you are seeing, Jake explains calmly, is Project Deep Strike. While you believed our fastest ships could barely reach light speed, we have been secretly developing vessels capable of folding space itself. The displays show massive ships emerging from what appears to be empty space, their hulls gleaming with technology that seems impossible for such a primitive species. These vessels dwarf even the largest Granite Lord battleships, their surfaces covered in weapon systems that pulse with contained energy. Commander Stone's optical sensors focus and refocus, trying to process the data. Impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected construction of such magnitude. Jake smiles for the first time. You are watching our public shipyards, Commander. These were built in facilities you never knew existed. Dead zones in space that appear empty to your sensors, but house entire industrial complexes. The next series of images shows human soldiers, but not the ones the galaxy has observed. These warriors wear armor that seems to bend light around them, making them nearly invisible. Their weapons discharge beams of pure energy that can cut through solid matter at the molecular level. Our conflict history taught us valuable lessons, Jake continues. We learned that the greatest advantage comes from your enemy underestimating you. While you watched us fight with chemical explosives and metal projectiles, we were developing weapons that could disintegrate matter itself. Flux, the energy being, projects confusion and disbelief, but your industrial capacity, your resource limitations. How could you possibly ... limitations? Jake's voice carries a hint of amusement. You observed our surface operations and assumed that was all we had. What you failed to realize is that humans have been mining asteroids, building in the depths of gas giants, and harvesting resources from the outer reaches of our solar system for decades. Our primitive chemical rockets were just the delivery system for establishing a vast hidden infrastructure. The displays shift to show massive spaced factories, mining operations that span entire asteroid belts and energy collection systems that dwarf small planets. The scale is breathtaking and completely changes the understanding of human capability. Wave, the Aquari delegate, ripples with shock. The energy requirements alone. How do you power such operations? Jake activates another display. We learned to harness the power of our star more efficiently than any other species. While you rely on complex fusion reactors, we built arrays that can capture and store stellar energy on a massive scale. Our sun has been feeding our hidden arsenal for generations. The most shocking revelation comes next. The displays show weapons that seem to manipulate fundamental forces. Devices that can alter gravity, create miniature black holes, and even manipulate time itself on a localized scale. Impossible, breathes Byrne, the Flame Lord representative. Such technology would require understanding of physics beyond what any species has achieved. Unless, Jake says quietly, that species had spent centuries in constant warfare, pushing the boundaries of science not for exploration or philosophy, but for survival. War accelerates innovation like nothing else. While you developed your societies in peace, we were forced to evolve or die. The assembly watches in stunned silence as the displays show tactical demonstrations. Human forces moving through space with impossible speed, weapons that can destroy targets from across star systems, and defensive systems that can protect entire planets from any conceivable attack. This is why we fought among ourselves for so long, Jake explains. We knew that if we ever stopped holding back, if we ever used our full capabilities, we would destroy our own world. Every human conflict has been a carefully controlled engagement, using only the minimum force necessary to achieve objectives. Commander Stone's voice carries a new tone of respect. You have been testing yourselves, learning to fight with restraint while developing overwhelming force. Exactly. And now the Void Swarm threatens not just us, but every species in the galaxy. For the first time in human history, we have an enemy we don't need to hold back against. They displays shift to show strategic plans, deployment schedules, and tactical analyses of the Void Swarm's weaknesses. The depth of human understanding and preparation becomes clear. We have been ready for this war for longer than you can imagine, Jake says. We have studied the Void Swarm, analyzed their patterns, and developed specific countermeasures. We didn't just want to join your defense initiative, we wanted to lead it. The chamber falls into absolute silence as the implications sink in. Asterisk. The silence in the council chamber stretches for long minutes as delegates process what they have witnessed. Finally, Crest spreads his wings, his metallic feathers, catching the light from the holographic displays. These claims are extraordinary, the Avari speaker says carefully, but claims they remain. Visual evidence can be fabricated. We would require concrete proof before considering any changes to our assessment. Jake nods as if he had expected this response. Of course. I came prepared for your skepticism. He touches his datapad, and new information appears on the screens. 3 days ago, a Void Swarm scout force entered the Kepler 442 system. The system was thought to be uninhabited, so the Galactic Defense Initiative classified it as acceptable loss. Several delegates shift uncomfortably. The policy of sacrificing empty systems to gather intelligence on the Void Swarm has been controversial but necessary. However, Jake continues, the system wasn't empty. It contained a small human research station and approximately 200 personnel. We received their distress signal and responded. The displays show tactical data from the engagement. Commander Stone leans forward, his mechanical eyes analyzing the information. Impossible. The scout force contained 3 Void Devourers and a dozen Swarm fighters. Our combined fleets have never successfully engaged even a single Devourer. Watch, Jake says simply. The holographic display shifts to show real-time footage from the battle. A small human fleet, consisting of only 5 ships, emerges from what appears to be empty space. The vessels are sleek and dark, nearly invisible. Against the star field dot, the Void Swarm scouts immediately react, their organic ships writhing through space like living creatures. The Devourers, massive entities that consume matter and energy, move to intercept the human fleet dot. What happens next leaves the entire assembly speechless. The human ships move with impossible precision, their trajectories defying conventional physics. They seem to predict every movement of the Void Swarm, staying just ahead of attacks that should have been unavoidable. Temporal displacement technology, Jake explains quietly. We can observe potential futures and adjust our actions accordingly. Not time travel, but time perception. We see what our enemies will do before they do it. The first human ship opens fire, and the weapons that emerge are unlike anything the galaxy has seen. Beams of controlled energy that don't just destroy matter, but seem to unweave it at the quantum level. Where the beams touch the void swarm ships, reality itself appears to fray. One of the devourers, a creature the size of a small moon, simply ceases to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized, but erased as if it had never been there. Quantum dissolution weapons, Jake notes. They remove the target from existence itself. No debris, no energy release, just ... nothing. The remaining void swarm forces attempt to retreat, but the human ships pursue with relentless efficiency. The battle is over in minutes, with the entire scout force eliminated without a single human casualty. Vex, the Shadow Collective representative, speaks in a voice filled with new respect. The energy requirements for such weapons, the computational power needed for temporal displacement. How is this possible? Because we had to make it possible, Jake responds. You see, the Void Swarm has been probing our system for years. We knew they were coming long before they revealed themselves to the galaxy. We had to be ready. The displays show additional data detection networks spanning multiple star systems. Early warning systems that can identify void swarm activity across vast distances, and defensive installations that make even the most fortified worlds look vulnerable. We have been preparing for this war for decades, Jake continues. While you debated and planned, we built and tested. While you relied on your natural advantages, we created new ones through necessity and determination. Wave ripples with what appears to be fear. If humans possess such power, what guarantee do we have that you won't turn these weapons against us? Jake's expression becomes deadly serious. Because we don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to save it. The Void Swarm isn't just a threat to individual worlds, it's a threat to all life, including human life. Our survival depends on your survival. He pauses, looking around the chamber. But more importantly, we have learned the cost of war. Every human knows the price of conflict. We have seen what happens when beings turn their full military might against each other. We choose restraint not from weakness, but from wisdom. The chamber remains silent as delegates absorb the implications. The question now, Jake says, is whether you will accept our help, or whether you will continue to fight this war with conventional methods while the Void Swarm grows stronger. Asterisk, the debate that follows Jake's demonstration rages for hours. Delegates break into faction groups, their voices rising and falling as they discuss the implications of humanity's revealed capabilities. Some argue for immediate integration, others express fear about human dominance, and a few suggest that this revelation itself might be some form of deception. Commander Stone approaches Jake during a recess, his mechanical form towering over. The human ambassador. Your species has successfully deceived the entire galaxy for decades. How do we know this isn't another deception? Jake meets the cybernetic warrior's gaze steadily. Because deception requires a motive. What would we gain? From lying about our capabilities? If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would have done it already. Instead, we're offering to help you save it. But the power differential, Stone continues. If humans possess such advanced technology, what prevents you from simply taking control after the Void Swarm is defeated? The same thing that prevented US from taking control before the Void Swarm arrived. Jake replies, we don't want to rule others. We want to survive alongside them. Flux materializes nearby, his energy form flickering with uncertainty. But your species' history, constant warfare, territorial disputes, resource conflicts. How can we trust that you won't turn these weapons against us? Jake considers the question carefully. Because we understand the true cost of war in ways that peaceful species cannot. Every human has grown up learning about the devastation that conflict brings. We know what happens when beings use their full military might against each other. That's why we developed restraint alongside our weapons. The formal session resumes with Cress calling for order. The Council has reviewed the evidence and debated the implications. However, before any decisions are made, we require a formal demonstration of human capabilities against actual Void Swarm forces. Jake nods. I anticipated this request. There is a Void Swarm staging area in the Epsilon Eridani system. Our intelligence suggests they are preparing for a major assault against the Centauri colonies. We propose a joint Operation Human Forces. We'll engage the primary threats while your fleets handle support operations. The proposal causes another stir among the delegates. The Centauri colonies house over 2 billion beings from various species, making them a crucial target for protection. You would risk your secret weapons to save colonies that aren't even human? Asks Byrne, the Flame Lord representative. That's exactly why we would risk them, Jake responds. The Void Swarm doesn't distinguish between species. Every life lost to them weakens our collective ability to resist. Over the following days, the joint operation is planned with unprecedented cooperation. Human tactical advisors work alongside alien strategists, sharing combat data and coordination protocols. The other species are amazed by the depth of human understanding regarding Void Swarm behavior patterns. You know more about our enemy than we do, observes Wave during one planning session. We've been studying them longer, explains Colonel Davis, one of Jake's military advisors. When you're the underdog, you learn everything you can about your opponent. We've analyzed every Void Swarm engagement for the past 50 years. The operation launches with a combined fleet of unprecedented size. Human ships, still mostly hidden from direct observation, coordinate with alien vessels through quantum communication networks. The tactical precision is unlike anything the galaxy has seen. As the fleet approaches the Epsilon Eridani system, the true scale of the Void Swarm presence becomes clear. Hundreds of organic ships cluster around the system's outer planets, feeding on stellar energy and converting matter into more of their kind. Even with your advanced weapons, Commander Stone observes, the numbers are overwhelming. Numbers are less important than strategy, Jake replies from the command ship. We've learned something about the Void Swarm that you may not have realized. They're not just consuming matter and energy, they're consuming information. Every ship they destroy, every world they devour, adds to their collective knowledge. The engagement begins with human ships appearing throughout the system simultaneously, their spatial folding technology allowing them to bypass the Void Swarm's outer defenses. The alien fleets watch in amazement as the humans implement tactics that seem impossible. Rather than engaging in direct combat, the human ships target specific Void Swarm vessels that serve as information nodes. Each precise strike disrupts the enemy's coordination, causing confusion throughout their formation. They're using the Void Swarm's own network against them, realizes Flux. By removing key communication nodes, they're fragmenting the entire force. Within hours, a massive Void Swarm presence is reduced to isolated groups, easily handled by the combined fleet. The victory is complete, and not a single allied ship is lost. This is how we win, Jake announces to the fleet. Not through overwhelming force, but through understanding our enemy better than they understand themselves. The success of the operation transforms the galaxy's perspective on humanity overnight. News of the Epsilon Eridani victory spreads across the galaxy within hours. The complete destruction of a major Void Swarm staging area without allied casualties is unprecedented. For the first time since the threat emerged, species across the galaxy feel genuine hope. The Galactic Council convenes an emergency session, this time with a very different atmosphere. The same delegates who had mocked humanity days before now listen with rapt attention as Jake presents the strategic implications of their victory. The Void Swarm's greatest strength has always been their ability to adapt, Jake explains to the assembly. They learn from every engagement, becoming stronger with each encounter. But their adaptation depends on their information network remaining intact. The displays show tactical analyses of Void Swarm behavior patterns. We have identified the core weakness in their collective intelligence. By targeting their communication nodes first, we can fragment their forces and prevent adaptation. They become vulnerable to conventional attacks once their coordination is disrupted. Cress spreads his wings, his tone now carrying deep respect. Ambassador Rivers, the Council is prepared to formally acknowledge humanity's military leadership. In the Galactic Defense Initiative, what do you require? Jake considers the question carefully. We need access to your industrial capacity and resource networks. Human technology is advanced, but we lack the manufacturing scale to equip a galaxy-wide defense force. We also need your species' unique capabilities integrated into our tactical framework. The cooperation that follows is remarkable. The Granite Lord's mining operations are retooled to produce human-designed weapons. The Avari's manufacturing facilities begin constructing hybrid vessels that combine human technology with alien engineering. The Flame Lord's energy manipulation abilities are integrated into human power systems, creating weapons of unprecedented effectiveness. Most importantly, human tactical doctrine is shared with military commanders across the galaxy. The emphasis on understanding the enemy, predicting their behavior, and using minimal force for maximum effect revolutionizes how the Alliance approaches combat. You fight like scientists, observes General Rex, the Granite Lord's supreme commander, during a joint training exercise. Every engagement is an experiment to learn something new about the enemy. That's exactly right, replies Admiral Torres, humanity's fleet commander. We assume every enemy is smarter than us, so we have to be more prepared than them. We study, we analyze, we plan for every possibility. The transformation of the Galactic Defense Network is swift and comprehensive. Human-designed detection systems are deployed throughout Alliance space, providing early warning of Void Swarm activity. Rapid response fleets, equipped with human technology and trained in human tactics, are positioned at strategic points. The first major test comes when the Void Swarm launches a coordinated assault on 3 systems simultaneously. The old defense doctrine would have required choosing which system to save, but the new integrated approach allows for simultaneous response. Human ships use their spatial folding technology to rapidly deploy defense forces to all 3 systems. The attacks are anticipated through pattern analysis, allowing defenders to be in position before the Void Swarm arrives. The battles are decisive victories. The Void Swarm forces are systematically dismantled through targeted strikes on their communication networks, followed by coordinated attacks from the combined fleets. The enemies that had seemed invincible are defeated with minimal odd casualties. This is unprecedented, reports Wave after the triple victory. The Void Swarm has never retreated from a system-wide assault. They're actually showing signs of fear. Jake reviews the tactical data with satisfaction. Fear is a form of learning. They're beginning to understand that they can't simply overwhelm us through numbers and adaptation. They'll need to develop new strategies. And we'll be ready for those too, adds Colonel Davis. We've been preparing for this war longer than they realize. Every scenario, every possibility, every potential adaptation has been considered and countered. The success of the new alliance strategy has broader implications. Species that had been neutral or isolationist begin requesting admission to the Galactic Defense Initiative. The prospect of effective protection against the Void Swarm proves more persuasive than decades of diplomatic efforts. But perhaps more importantly, the alliance itself begins to transform. The cooperative development of defensive technologies leads to unprecedented sharing of knowledge and resources. Species that had maintained strict boundaries begin collaborating on projects that benefit everyone. Humanity has given us more than military protection. Kress observes during a council session, "You have shown us what we can accomplish when we work together instead of merely coexisting." Jake nods thoughtfully. That was always the goal. The Void Swarm isn't just an external threat, it's a test of whether different species can truly unite for a common purpose. We believe the galaxy is stronger when every species contributes their unique strengths. The foundation has been laid for something unprecedented in galactic history, a true alliance based on mutual respect, shared purpose, and collective strength. *6. Months after the formation of the new alliance, the galaxy faces its ultimate test. Deep space monitoring stations detect the largest void swarm mobilization in recorded history. The enemy has adapted to the new tactics, developing more resilient communication networks and deploying forces that can operate independently of central coordination. They're learning, Admiral Torres observes during the emergency command meeting. The fragmented communication strategy is less effective now. They've developed redundant networks. Jake studies the tactical displays with characteristic calm. Then we adapt too. Every strength can become a weakness if approached correctly. Their redundant networks make them more resilient, but also more predictable. The Void Swarm's new strategy becomes clear as their forces converge on the galactic core. Rather than spreading across multiple systems, they're concentrating everything into a single, overwhelming assault aimed at the heart of Alliance space. They're trying to end this war with one decisive battle, realizes Commander Stone. If they can destroy the core worlds, the Alliance will collapse. The Allied response is swift and comprehensive. Every available ship, every advanced weapon, every tactical innovation is deployed to defend the core systems. The combined fleet that assembles is the largest military force in galactic history, representing 47 different species united under human strategic command. *. But the Void Swarm force is equally massive. Thousands of organic ships, including creatures larger than space stations, emerge from the dark regions between stars. The enemy has been building this force for decades, possibly centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike. This is what we've been preparing for. Jake addresses the Alliance fleet commanders. Not just military victory, but proof that different species can stand together against any threat. Today, we don't just save the galaxy, we forge its future. The battle that follows spans multiple star systems and lasts for days. The Void Swarm's adapted tactics prove challenging, but the Alliance's combined capabilities prove equal to the threat. Human technological superiority, combined with the unique abilities of each allied species, creates tactical opportunities that neither side could achieve alone. The turning point comes when the Alliance successfully implements a strategy that only became possible through true cooperation. Using Flame Lord energy manipulation to power human quantum dissolution weapons, while Avari precision targeting guides the strikes, and Granite Lord industrial capacity provides unlimited ammunition, the Alliance begins systematically dismantling the Void Swarm's largest vessels. They're not adapting fast enough, reports Colonel Davis from the Tactical Center. The combination of our technologies is creating effects they can't predict or counter. The final phase of the battle involves a coordinated strike on the Void Swarm's central command organism, a massive entity that serves as the coordination hub for their entire species. The attack requires precise timing from hundreds of ships, each contributing their unique capabilities to a single, devastating assault. When the command organism is destroyed, the effect is immediate and absolute. The entire Void Swarm force loses coordination, their ships becoming confused and disoriented. The Alliance forces systematically eliminate the remaining threats, achieving complete victory, The aftermath of the battle transforms the galaxy permanently. A void swarm threat is eliminated, but more importantly, the alliance that formed to fight them remains strong. The cooperation that began as military necessity evolves into genuine partnership. The war is over, Jake announces to the Galactic Council, but the alliance we built will endure. We've learned that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. The galaxy that emerges from the conflict is fundamentally changed. Technology. Sharing accelerates development across all species. Trade and cultural exchange flourish as barriers between worlds dissolve. The threat that nearly destroyed civilization instead becomes the catalyst for unprecedented unity. Human military doctrine becomes the foundation for galactic peacekeeping forces, but with a crucial difference: the emphasis on understanding opponents through study and preparation is applied to resolving conflicts before they escalate to violence. We learned to fight so we could learn to stop fighting, Jake reflects during the final council session. The greatest victory isn't defeating your enemies, it's turning them into allies. The galaxy's new guardians aren't just the ships and weapons of the Alliance fleet. They are the bonds of cooperation, the shared knowledge, and the mutual respect that developed through facing a common threat. The species that once mocked humanity's apparent weakness now recognize that true strength comes from unity, preparation, and the wisdom to know when to fight and when to make peace. As the story concludes, the galaxy stands transformed. The laughter that once greeted humanity's military capabilities has been replaced by respect for what can be achieved when different species work together. The true arsenal that humanity unveiled wasn't just advanced weapons, it was the ability to unite others in common cause, turning diversity into strength and cooperation into victory. The Void Swarm is defeated, but the alliance they forged to fight, it will guard the galaxy for generations to come. Asterisk.